Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I hope all of you are doing well. And I've got another card showcase for you today, this time showing off all the counteraction cards I've made so far. Because sometimes when your opponent does something in a card game, you just want to say no. Starting off, I've got Negate, which is a 2-cost counteraction card that simply negates the effect of target normal action cards. So your opponent plays a normal action card, you just play this, and then that effect won't go off, and that card is sent to the opponent's discard pile. Pretty simple, but very powerful. Next is Coach's Challenge, which is a 3-cost counteraction card which states it negates the effect of target action card. The distinction is significant because this stops more than just normal actions. It can stop your opponent from attaching a modifier action to one of their characters, or setting down a terrain, or even countering your opponent's counteraction card like Negate here. So, pretty useful card here. Next is Paper Shield, which is a 1-cost counteraction card. You can play this when an ability or card effect would knock out one of your characters, and this card simply negates that ability or effect. It doesn't stop a ton of things, but a lot of times you'll play a counteraction card to stop your opponent from using a removal card on one of your characters, like a burst attack or a steady shot, for instance, and this can stop those. It's pretty useful in that respect. Next is Psychic Counterattack, which is a 4-cost counteraction card which reads, negate the effect of target normal action card, then draw a card. So while it costs twice as much as negate here, it does have an additional upside which can be useful to you. Next is Scion's Reversal, a 0-cost counteraction card. Very few cards in the game cost 0. And it basically works like a Coach's Challenge in that you play this whenever your opponent plays an action card to negate it. It has an interesting downside to it, where at the start of your next turn, you pay 4 power, and if you're unable to do that, you lose the game. So, after charging your power at the start of your turn, you would then pay the 4 power at that point, and if you don't, you lose the game right there. So, very risky card, but it can be very useful at times. Next is Skill Seal, which is a card that stops abilities. For 1 power, you get a counter action that states whenever an opponent would activate an ability on a character, or a character's ability will be triggered, you may play this to negate that ability's effect. So, you can use this when your opponent plays power to activate a character's ability, of course, but this also stops an on-play ability on a character from going off, or an automatic ability from going off as well. So it's pretty versatile in that sense. We've seen a lot of counters that stop your opponent from performing certain actions, like playing cards or using abilities, but now we get to a section of cards that stop attacks specifically, starting with the most basic, Reflex Guard. For 2 power, you get to negate target character's attack. Very simple. Next is Black Hole, a 3-cost counteraction card that states, when your opponent attacks, negate the attack and put the attacking character and any attached cards on the bottom of its owner's deck in a random order. So there's a bit of an additional upside. It can get rid of an attacking character that's giving you trouble. Definitely useful to have on hand in certain situations. There's also Block, which is another attack stopping card that has upside to it. For 4 power, you get a counter action card that negates target character's attack, and then you attach this card to the attacked character. You treat this card like a modifier that gives the character +2 defense. So, and when you can stop an attack and give the attacked character a permanent defense boost. It's pretty nice. Then you have Overpower, which is a 1-cost counter action that states, when an opposing character attacks one of your characters, you use your character's attack instead of defense during damage calculation. A lot of characters in the game have much higher attack than defense, so if your opponent attacks into one of those, you can play Overpower to really catch them off guard. It can reduce the amount of damage you take or even take out your opponent's attacker entirely depending on the situation. It's a pretty good card to keep in mind. Redirect has a similar bit of utility to it. For 3 power, when your opponent attacks, you get to change the target of the attack to another in-play character. It's a very useful card to have if you don't want your opponent to attack a specific character. You can just change it to something else, though it does require you to have 2 characters in play to get the most out of it, for obvious reasons. The final card I've got is the most expensive of the counter action cards, and that is Freeze. It costs a whopping 7 power to use. Its effect reads, you may play this card when your opponent draws a card to start their turn. Your opponent may not play cards from their hand until the end of the turn. This can shut down your opponent for a turn, though your opponent will still be able to use character abilities and attack. Not being able to play cards is stopping your opponent from playing cards is a pretty useful effect that can slow down your opponent. And that about does it for the cards I have in today's showcase. Thank you for watching. Definitely comment below which of these was your favorite, and which ones you would like to include in your deck. And if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like if you liked it. Thank you so much for watching again, and until the next time, take care.